Hi, I'm Geoffrey. Welcome back to my channel. I'm going to showcase a 152k ISU 152k battle, and I'm going to say why I think battles are often fast and one-sided, but especially one-sided. This is not one of those. This is neither a fast battle nor a one-sided battle, as you can tell from the length of the video. However, it has some of the elements. It gives me time to discuss them, and then on future occasions I can perhaps show some of these very fast battles. I've already shown one recently, and show the mistakes that are made. So my basic thesis...
And now for something completely different.
Yes, completely different because it's a long battle. Is that battles are one-sided because one of the teams is not as good as the other. Now, you may say that's not enough because there are situations where teams are the skill gap is not so big. I think the skill gap is not so big that players are very good at exploiting skill gaps in situations such as these. So, for example, if you have whatever it is, skirmishes or something where the top players of a clan are playing, then even a small skill gap is big at those levels. But basically what happens is that you have a situation where one or the other team will make a mistake, and the mistake is critical, and it's much more likely that in a random battle the critical mistakes will happen because one of the teams has very low skilled players and they have much higher probability of making a mistake. And you will see one potential mistake that would have been very costly for us in this battle fairly early on. And so when that happens, if the enemy team then all rushes on that side where the mistake is being made, so let's say it's one side just YOLOs or something, there's some very bad players and think, oh, let's YOLO or something, maybe we can all together push, but they're going to get slaughtered, and then the counter YOLOing starts and you're down by 3 or 4 tanks and you cannot reverse the situation. This is a typical example. So you see now the Sheridan, as far as I know, British tanks are only good at passive spotting, but he's in the city, he's going to go and try and spot, just look at the minimap, he's going to try and proxy spot enemy tanks in the city. I think he should have been in the field. What the LC even, on the other hand, is doing the correct thing. So the LC even is saving us on the side of the field, but the Sheridan, he could have gone there up on the top and possibly spot on that hill, so I had shots, but he doesn't do that. He wants to either fight or proxy spot. At the moment he's still being cautious, but you'll see very soon he will rush into the town to proxy spot enemy tanks. And so once you've done a critical mistake, then the other team exploits it. If they get the upper hand by 2 or 3 tanks, then you have a runaway situation, you have chaos, anything can happen, and the battle will go one way or another very, very soon. So the Sheridan is pushing. He's going to town, presuming to proxy spot. Maybe he has been spotted, so he's decided he's not going to push, so he's stuck now behind this rock. Behind this building. I have no sight of him. If anyone flanks him, I only have a momentary gap. I might be able to shoot him here. But if he escapes my shot, then the Sheridan is dead. Now, it's been rushed by the top tier Polish heavy. I think it's top tier, but it's heavy anyway. It's tier 9. I'm tier 8, so tier 8, tier 10 battle. So I'm completely outmatched. The enemy tanks are fighting behind the buildings. We have our own tanks in the city, so the enemy tanks have the support of their TDs. Our heavy tanks do not. The Sheridan has already lost half his HP, and I think it's going to be shot a couple more times. Almost certainly the enemy team has a tank destroyer camping at the back, so he's shot once, he's shot a second time. They're almost certainly by a tank destroyer. That's on the K line. And so we lost basically the support of a light tank. Now the battle could go very much one way now if the enemy pushed. Fortunately, we have won the field. And here, this is a very annoying thing. So I shot him. It was almost the entire time was in my field, in the circle, in the shooting circle, and I just hit his track without causing any damage. With a shot, 152mm shot. caused no damage to this tank, which is very light. It was the Borask. So, I mean, I should have blown one of the wheels at the very least off the tank, if nothing else. So sort of only bent his hull or something, but no, nothing happened. Can you imagine being hit by a shell that's so big at that speed? Yeah, I should disintegrate just by the force of the impact. So, so that's my idea. Basically, you have some sort of chaos going in. Okay, fine.
Very good indeed.
You have some chaos starting. Once you have chaos starting, you know, chaos has no order, basically. Things can go anyway. It doesn't matter how good your team is or whatever, if it has good players. Chaos means chaos, you know, it means total and complete randomness. And if you have a situation where you can trigger chaos, then anything can happen. After that, doesn't matter how many good players you have in your team.
Simply pull the lever and the 16-ton weight will drop on his head!
Okay. He knew I was spotted here. He had spotted me earlier, so I don't know why he did that. And he stopped in front of my gun. So he also did a mistake there. He was also not a very good player. But he's balanced our own mistake. So let's concentrate in the battle now. I've made my point. What I'm going to do in future World of Tank battles is I'm going to look for situations where you have one tank dominating and or one tank making a very serious mistake. And the reason I want to show you also why one tank dominates is because usually, in usual situations, most of the time the tank that dominates tends to be a medium or sometimes a heavy, or a well-armored medium and a relatively fast heavy, so a medium-ish heavy with a very strong turret. This is the meta at the moment. And so players who play these tanks want, you know, the SPGs nerfed. They have already been nerfed. They want fewer lights, so the TDs cannot have spots. But then, you know, if you're in a tank like the one I'm having, like 2 tiers down, glass cannon, even same tier would have been glass cannon. And then there's no light tank spotting for you, and it's an open map. You know, you're useless basically. If you cannot even have a light tank spotting for you in an open map, because that's the only situation you have any chance of carrying the team. And so in all other situations, you have to fight in this tank as a medium. Now I have to fight as a medium in this tank if the enemy pushes. And this is not a tank I can fight as a medium. Yeah, honestly, I mean, it'd be mad. You know, I'd rather have a medium if all battles were going to be like that, okay? This stupid tree, you know, whoever knocked down this back tree should have knocked down the front tree as well. I guess it was the light. He was rushing around this area, and it's not a good spot. I thought it might have been a good spot, but I have no view because of the tree in front of me. What I'm trying to get is a different line, because I've already been spotted in my previous position twice, and so people kind of expect that I'm there, so they won't expose themselves to that spot, probably, if they're, you know, if they're correctly thinking. And so I want to take a different position, but there's not that many positions. That's the other thing. If you're playing a tank destroyer, usually maps have only a couple of positions. One is where the WZ-120 is for this side of the map, and the other is where I am, basically somewhere around this hill, somewhere on these hills anyway. So that's not the worst map, by the way. This is actually a very decent map. It has a few positions on these hills out here. There's another position where the WZ is gone now. That's also a good position. There's some trees there, but you don't have a very good view of the field, or you don't have, yeah, I think you have a little bit of a view of the field, but not a great view of the field where he is now. On the other hand, you cannot be shot from the field if you get spotted, yeah, where you are. It's much more difficult to get shot.
Right in the house, your father.
And now the bounce, I mean, come on, got spotted again! How did this happen? Okay, I got hit by the SPG as well, even though I started moving. Yeah, so the SPG was more accurate than I was. That's RNG. So I had him in my sights. I was almost fully aimed, shot him, failed. The SPG wasn't in his sights. That wasn't spotted. It wasn't anything. He wasn't fully aimed. He still got me.
Caribou! Gore!
I wasn't spotted this time because there's all these trees in the way. And we're still losing one tank. The enemy team has 2 SPGs. So basically, we're actually, you could say we're winning in a way. Now, usually what happens in situations like this, heavy tank players are so annoyed by, oh, he's lit on fire. That's very lucky because he was full HP. And we have a chance now of winning, actually. Have a very good chance of winning. So heavy tank players are so often bothered by enemy SPGs that they're very tempted when the situation eases up a bit to go and hunt for enemy SPGs. Everyone is tempted to do that, especially though heavy tanks. And that could be a mistake if someone does that, because they leave the battle. And in this case we have 2 top tier heavy tanks. Me, I'm bottom tier. T-44 is also bottom tier, but it's a medium. Unfortunately for him, he's lost most of his HP. Now he's made a mistake.
This demonstrates the value of not being seen.
Well, indeed. So I wasn't spotted. Now we have basically 1 enemy heavy tank. We have the 2 enemy SPGs. And we have me, bottom tier tank destroyer, and a top tier heavy. Now this demonstrates another thing, that the tanks that tend to survive into endgame usually are heavy tanks, top tier heavy tanks, or top tier medium tanks, and these usually are the tanks that carry battles. Now you're not always top tier when you're in a medium or when you're heavy, but when you're in a medium or a heavy and you're top tier, you can carry a battle. So that's much easier than in any other tank type, like being a top tier SPG. What good is that? Top tier light, may be useful. So here, this guy managed to get through, and I wasn't able to spot him.
I think it's runnier than you like it, sir.
Unfortunately, because I was down on the other side of the hill. So he managed to get through. I was hit by their TD, by their SPG. Here I missed, unfortunately, that now he could rush me. It's too perilous indeed. He's top tier and I'm bottom tier glass cannon. I'm fighting like a medium. What are my chances? The only thing is I hope he cannot spot me. I have green there. Oh, hit the dirt. Come on. How did I hit the dirt? Now I expect I'll be shot and killed. But either he only has HE, but he could still kill me with HE because he's top tier. Either he has only HE left or no ammo at all. Maybe he's run out of ammo completely. That's quite likely. So maybe he was just trying to spot me for their SPG, but the SPG now is dead, so he's decided there's no point. No, their SPG has been killed by the heavy, so he's decided there's no point, therefore spotting for the SPG. The SPG is dead, and he has no ammunition. I think that's what's happening, but I cannot be sure. I'm thinking maybe he was only got HE shots left, and he's worried he may not be able to kill me, one-shoot me or something. And now, I don't, he's a top tier tank. He could probably one-shoot me with high explosives. So there is a chance he's run out of ammunition, but I cannot be sure, obviously. So my plan initially was to go and bait a shot, but now I'm thinking to play it safe. I have time. I'm gonna go all around here and come in from an angle that's unexpected, and hopefully I can outspot him. Because I noticed that at some point he lost me. I went stealth, even though I was only like whatever. I was very close to him, behind some bushes, and I got stealth. So I'm now thinking that he doesn't have vision. He doesn't have good vision. He doesn't have whatever binocs or anything, optics or whatever. But I cannot spot him either, so it's very risky. I don't know if he's got any shells left or not. We're running out of time, basically. I have possibly 2 shots left, possibly.
Stay where you are. You'll never leave this bookshop alive. Nice to do
I
business
was
with you.
scared he might shoot back, although he seemed inactive. I think he'd given up. He thought, if I get spotted, I'm dead. Probably. And he was facing the other direction, thinking I was gone in that direction, which initially I was. So that was lucky. I won this battle. It was very close, but that gave me the time to discuss my views about, why we have this one-sided situations, what tanks are usually dominating, and why, and what causes fast battles, and so on. So I may show some more examples in future episodes. This is the usual theme of my videos, so you can also look at different videos that I've already made. So I was surprisingly third in my team, although I was in this bottom tier glass cannon in +2 matchmaking. And let's go over the results once again. So here's the message that I got afterwards. I asked him if he had run out of ammunition. He said yes. And I got a little bit of experience. It wasn't really a big deal, but lots of rewards because, I killed 4 tanks and did reasonably well in the team. There were various missions and so on. And so Mastery Badge, that was only first class. That was surprising. 152k. So a lot of good players must play because, it was bottom tier. It was +2 matchmaking. So I got a Fighter Badge, Fire for Effect for causing more damage than the hit points of my vehicle, Bruiser for causing some critical hits, and Defender for defending the base and saving the battle. And only 2,500 HP. The WZ-120 did really well, and he was shooting the tanks that the ELC even was spotting, I expect. So he basically carried, and the FV top tier did well, but the WZ is actually is a bottom tier TD as well, so he did really, really well. But if you look at the enemy team, our own team was relying on the tank destroyers. The enemy team was relying on mediums. Well, also the SPG did well. Mediums and heavies and so on, and their TDs did nothing. Some of the TDs did nothing and some did very little. So very unbalanced game, very unbalanced team, but in the end, in terms of, what tanks did well in that respect, which types did well. In any case, that was a battle. It was even at the end on this occasion, but I'll show you some unbalanced battles in future episodes. Thank you for watching.